Contrary to popular opinion, your natural strengths actually already make you the best kind of salesperson. But you just gotta know what those strengths are and how to use them. Starting with the one thing you don't wanna be. The used car salesman who pushes his customers into buying cars that don't work. But you don't need to worry about being salesy if you lean into what you were naturally born with. For example, when I'm meeting a potential client, I'm not just trying to get their business. I'm thinking through whether I'm actually a good fit to help them. It's an introvert superpower that Susan Cain, the author of Quiet, discovered. You listen more than you talk. But that's the exact opposite of how we're encouraged to act. Like this time, my co-founder was considering hiring a fundraiser. We saw his custom-made suit and his Don Draper swagger, and we thought, oh yeah, of course he can get us a lot of pitch meetings. But 1 month went by, then another, and another. And that fancy salesman didn't deliver on a single meeting. Unfortunately, get rich quick is an easy trap to fall into. But there's a lesson from ancient China that proves there's a better way. Back then, wearing jade jewelry was a sign of status. When you saw someone walking slowly, you knew you were in the presence of wealth and prestige. It's a great strategy to use in your business, like when you're meeting a potential client who is used to salespeople steamrolling over their objections. But you don't rush the conversation towards your ideal outcome. Instead, you tap into a strength that only introverts have. In fact, it's what makes Warren Buffett so successful. Before every important business decision, he slows down. He asks questions, and then he listens to the answer. You have the patience to fully understand the issue so you can better solve your customers' problems. This is the reason my clients say to me, I feel like you really care about whether or not we're actually a good fit versus just trying to make a sale. Because the truth is, once you know about their needs, it's not about selling. It's about helping, which is something that people, extroverts, might forget. Just kidding. We do love extroverts in LZ land here, but they do tend to get all the credit for thriving in business environments. Compare an extrovert versus an introvert at a conference. The extrovert talks to everyone. They make friends in every session, stack up coffee meetings, and maybe even throw a party in their room, a la Michael Scott.
I thought there was a party in here.
This is a party.
This is room 308.
Party Central. So what can I do you for? All right.
But the introvert is tucked in a cozy corner, deep in conversation with just one individual. It's not the vast social reach of their counterpart, but that one connection is more meaningful because that person feels so seen and heard. High five to that amazing strength. But this is often overlooked because people think it's all about making the sale. But that discounts a key part of being successful. If it's not the right fit, it's gonna suck for the client and for you. It's a mistake I made in the beginning of my business. I thought I had found my ideal client. She had a super successful career already, and she was willing to invest in her business. But she was missing the most important thing to look for in a good client relationship. You need someone emotionally ready to do the work. But this client was treating her business like a fun hobby. Even worse, she only wanted to talk about her personal life. She'd call me up randomly and say, oh my God, I just broke up with my boyfriend. Honestly, I did not know how to handle it back then. But chances are you will run into situations like this in your business. Because as business owners, we walk a fine line. On one hand, you want to support your client, but there's also a boundary. It won't work if you're trying to be best friends. That's why developing these 2 skills will help your business grow in a much healthier way. The first is learning to identify the right client. Plus, if you realize you're wrong, which does happen, learning how to release that client. The truth is, it's about delivering the sale. If you don't have a good and fruitful relationship at the end, it's just not worth it. But there will come a time when you find the right client with the wrong goals. That's where your next strength comes in. For example, if someone comes to me and says, I'm brand new in my business, but I want to make $30,000 within the next 6 months, I'm not going to respond right away. Instead, I'm going to take a moment to think about it. In fact, a study found that introverts take a longer time to process and think than extroverts do. But it's not a sign of being less smart, which I wish I could go back in time and tell my teenage self. It's actually because you take time to understand new ideas before moving on to new ones. So to this business newbie, I would say, never say never, but there is so much we need to build. Since you're so new, let's aim for consistent sales by the end of 6 months, especially since you also have a full-time job. In fact, under-promising is always better than making big claims. Not only is it more believable, but it sells through true understanding and the ability to deliver. You listen to your client's goals, and then you lay a roadmap of how to get there. It's not free coaching, but you're problem solving. Like, your funnel's not working here and here. Here's what we can do to change that, which we've covered before. Because what people are actually looking for is the belief that you can help them. That's what gets people to buy from you. But it would be a lie to say there are no disadvantages to being an introvert. For example, I've spent my whole life wishing this were different, but I will never be the person who has a witty comeback. I just have to think through everything before I speak, and you probably feel the same way. It's why extroverts were found to speak more frequently than introverts. For example, just this morning, a client was telling me how she liked to do things a certain way. But I pushed her and I said, I get it, I've been there too. But given that your goal is to reduce your day-to-day stress, I'm gonna push you to sit with this a bit longer. The truth is, it's your job to challenge your clients as far as they're willing to be pushed. It's part of the reason they hired you in the first place. But my client did not like that advice. She said, I feel like you're dismissing my unique situation. And this is where I could have made a huge mistake. I could have responded emotionally, saying, you misunderstood me. Now I feel underappreciated as a coach. But instead, I used my introversion as an asset. After thinking through it objectively, I said, I hear you. I've worked with clients in similar situations, so I am not dismissing it. But this is one of the reasons you hired me specifically, and that's why I'm challenging you here. In situations like this, it's not you versus your client, because you both have the same goal to help them get the best results. You can use this in other contexts too. Like when trolls used to find my paid ads, they'd leave comments like, how dare you have something to sell? And much worse. Now, you are allowed to feel angry and upset in situations like this. We're all human. But my natural habit is to think, what's the ideal outcome I want from this situation? So I either don't reply or I respond with facts. Like, I believe in my products and I'm not trying to hide that I have something to sell. That breath in between thinking and taking action can make or break the longevity of your business. But without this next strength, your business won't stand a chance in the long run. It's again something we can learn from Warren Buffett. Before he invests in a stock, he reads as many annual reports as possible. Then he picks the few stocks that he thinks will succeed. It's what's made him the wealthiest investor in the world. The good news is you have the same advantage. You just have to learn how to use it. For example, my business hasn't been an explosive overnight success, but it has grown steadily and consistently. Plus, I've never had to let someone go because I committed to an investment before I was ready. This is something introverts are so good at. Before you make a decision, you ask yourself, what's this gonna look like 5 years from now? I wanna look back on my hires and be able to say, yes, that was the right person at the right time. It's why once I bring on someone to the team, we tend to work together for a long time. Like my video editor of 4 years. Hey, Kristen. Or my amazing director of operations, Amy, who's been on the team for 9 years. Making hiring decisions like this is how I get better and better while technically working less and less in the business. But there's another benefit to cautious decision making. You wait until you are ready to give it your all and thus give it the best chance of success. Take my first 4 years in business. I only focused on one traffic source, paid ads, and I got really good at it. As a result, the business made millions of dollars. But if you don't make decisions with that in mind, your business could crumble the way you step away from it. The goal is to build a solid foundation before you move on to the next stage in your business. But even once you use these strategies to grow, it's pointless if you burn out. That's why I share how to grow a lot faster while making things simpler in this next video. It's how I now run a 7-figure business working less than 20 hours a week. Plus, you'll see how building your dream business and life doesn't have to be complicated.